Hey guys, Aaron Dorr here with a major federal court update for the members of the New York State Firearms Association. I'm going to jump right into it. This Friday, March 14, we're going to be in New York City in Manhattan in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in a head-to-head showdown against Kathy Hochul over the ammo registration law, which took effect here in New York State in September of 2023. We have been waiting for 18 months for this day, and it's finally here. As you all know, with that law, which took effect in September of 2023, we now have to go through a background check for each and every round of ammo that we buy, which of course gives Kathy Hochul an inventory of how much ammo you and I possess. We also get to pay for the privilege of doing that, which is totally unconstitutional. And of course, as we all know, this only works if the state police database works. And it sometimes does, and sometimes it doesn't. It depends on where you are. It seems to work a lot less in certain parts of the state. This is a tremendously unconstitutional law that violates the Bruin decision. And that's why we sued Kathy Hochul the very day this law took effect. Now, I've heard some people say, you know, it's not that big of a deal. I can have ammo brought in to New York State. I can send it to a buddy's house. I can have it picked up, at a border city. And that's true. But first of all, that doesn't matter. This is still blatantly unconstitutional. Secondly, not everyone lives near the border of New York State. And finally, in other states that are trying this, they have closed that quote unquote loophole down. And they have said, for example, in California, you can only buy ammo in California, and you have to go through a very similar background check process. So we need to deal with this and get it shut down as soon as possible. This case was filed originally in the Western District, Rochester. We lost the case there. That was no surprise. In fact, the judge wouldn't even allow for oral arguments. That's how left-leaning the judge in Rochester was. The goal was always to get into the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. Now, you guys probably know this. Gun owners have had some good victories, and we've had some defeats in this circuit over the last couple of years. But they did take a sledgehammer to key aspects of the Concealed Carry Improvement Act, falsely named, heavy sarcasm intended, the CCIA that passed in 2022. We believe we have a real shot here at striking down this garbage law. We're very happy to announce that just last weekend, the panel for this day in court was actually picked, and all three judges in this case were Trump appointees from his first term in the White House. That is obviously fantastic news for anyone who cares about trying to fight for gun rights in a court of law. Now, when it comes to circuit court, it's not like what you might think, where each side has hours and hours and hours to give their arguments. Much of the argumentation is done through written briefs that have been long since filed with the court. And our day in court will only be a few minutes in court, actually. Our side has 10 minutes. Hochul's side has 10 minutes, and the court reserves time to ask questions from both sides as they deem necessary. So it's going to be a very short day, but the stakes just could not be any higher. Now, I'm not the lawyer for our organization, so I'm not going to try and tell you what we're arguing. That's above my pay grade, to be honest, but it's really not that complicated. The Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. All of the Supreme Court precedent, from Heller to McDonald to Bruin and even Rahimi, have made it clear that we have an absolute individual right to keep and bear arms. You can't very well bear arms if you don't have any ammo. And you can't very well buy any ammo here in New York if the damn database doesn't work. And that's not even talking about how unconstitutional that database is. So we have multiple arguments in our case. But let's not forget perhaps one of the biggest ones. The Bruin case, 2022, made it very clear the government has to show an historical analog or historical precedent for their gun control laws. That basically means they have to show, back at the time of the Second Amendment's ratification, back in the 1700s, they have to show a similar law was on the books at that time. And frankly, New York State has not been able to do that. They are trotting out some racist examples of gun control, because most gun owners here in New York know the history of gun control here in our state is steeped in the racism of 100 years ago. And so New York State is trying to hold up these examples. I'm shocked they can do it with a straight face. But that's all they have. That's all they have. And so we have high hopes high hopes for the outcome of this case. It's important to note, I mentioned how California has a similar law on the books, and they did. But a year and a half ago, something like that, California's ammo registration law was struck down in federal court. Now, that case is ongoing. There's going to be appeals and more appeals. But so far, the one state that did this, California, theirs came tumbling down in court. We believe, we hope, and we're working to make sure the law here in New York comes down and comes down hard. Now, the outcomes of this are basically either or. Either we win. In this case, New York State will almost assuredly appeal this case to the full Second Circuit, or we lose, in which case we will appeal to the full Second Circuit. Either way, it's going to be an ongoing case. Now, when it comes to a case like this, we have a 3-judge panel, but the full Second Circuit is 13 judges. So that's the next level of appeal. If either side does not agree with the answer from the 3-judge panel, it gets bumped up in an en banc review by every judge on the panel. Either way, it's going to be an ongoing process. Either way, it takes time. We're not going to have an answer from the court on Friday. I wish we could. Doesn't work that way. It might be 3 months. It could be 9 months. It could be somewhere in between. It takes time. Everyone here understands that now. It is unfortunate, but that is the reality of how court processes work in this country. Some people have asked in the comments section in the past, how come we're not suing about this? How come we're not suing about that? What about this? What about that? Look, I get the frustration. There is dozens of things that we could be, and I hope will be, suing New York State over when it comes to gun control in our state, especially in a post-Bruin environment where Kathy Hochul has to show historical analogs. But guys, it takes time. And frankly, it takes money. We don't have, George Soros funding our nonprofit. We have folks like you, patriots who care about gun rights in New York State. And so it's one battle at a time. It's one battle at a time in election season. It's one battle at a time right now in Albany. And it's one battle at a time in federal court. So we're rocking and rolling. We're going to give all of you guys an update on Friday live at the courthouse after court is over. No cell phones are allowed in the courtroom, unfortunately. So no photographs, no live tweets, unfortunately. But we'll have an update for all of you after we're done in court live in front of the courthouse. Thank you to everybody who has funded this lawsuit. This lawsuit only happened because you guys stepped in in a big way and gave us the resources, the ammo we had to have to drag Kathy Hochul into the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. For that, you have my eternal thanks. Much more to come in the couple days ahead. It all goes down this Friday morning. Stay tuned for much more coming up really soon. Hey guys, the New York State Firearms Association is fighting like hell to hold the line here in Albany to make sure our children's children have a right to keep and bear arms. Get involved in this fight today. First, follow us on X. Second, sign up for text alerts from us. And number 3, like and subscribe for more content.